Okay, well, we're going to do a refresher in case anybody didn't want to shout out no. Okay, regenerative agriculture is 6 principles. The first one is context. You want to farm for where you are. I should not start a banana farm in Bandera, Texas. That's not the right context. And then the next one is no-till. So we don't till the fields. We never open up the ground. So that way we don't break up the microbiology that's in the soil. The next is cover crops. We try to plant cover crops. We try to have a living root as often as possible. And then normally I would say animal integration, and our pens are empty. The girls just came in to feed milk. This is my dairy herd, and you can say hi to them. Those are the girls that we milk. So they get separated from their babies at this time of night and then get milked at 6 a.m. and then the babies have 12 hours of access. If the babies are less than 3 months old, you can see that they're in the pen with the moms. There's 2 babies in there. I am a believer that if you're going to impregnate a cow every single year, you have a moral imperative to let that cow stop here for a second at the orchard. I think there's a moral imperative for us to let the cow nurse its own baby, for us to take all of the milk and then feed the baby formula. I wouldn't feed my children formula, so why would I do that to a cow? That's if you want to know why does our milk cost $9 a half gallon, it's because the baby cow's getting theirs and we're taking the extract. This is our orchard here. You can see behind us we have some blackberries growing, there's onions, there's peaches on the other side, and this is apples just close to us. There's also oregano in there, perennials and annuals growing together. And then here, this is the first orchard we planted, and you can only see about 1 acre of it, but it's 5 acres. It crawls up the hill, winds around. We have turkeys in this high fence as well as egg-laying chickens. And then we have our trees. The main problem we're learning in Texas, and this is a learning experiment, I bought 2,000 trees, 20 of all different kinds, because nobody knew what grows in this area anymore because we've so disconnected from 100 years ago. Everybody was eating food from wherever they were, and now nothing grows here. Really? What did people eat 100 years ago? The neighbor's ranch. This guy lived here more than 100 years. That guy's family's been here 200 years. Somebody ate something. Right. So we put in a bunch of stuff. But what we're noticing is the problem is these hot days. How hot is it right now? And it's February, right? You got look at those peach trees in full bloom. It's likely that it's going to frost again, and I'm going to get no peaches. You see these trees in the front? These are pear trees, and not one of them is coming out of dormancy. We're betting hard on pears. This next orchard that we had to replant had pecans, and then we had 100 days over 100. I planted a lot of pears because your seed, it's not doing that. You see these apples are flowering, and the butterflies are in it. It looks amazing, but if you get a frost, you get nothing. But this, and then the other thing I've noticed is that with the mulberries, if it can frost and go dormant and come back and it's going to flower again, that's okay. That's a good thing. We just keep going. So this is, and then we grow food in between. Tonight we're having a Mexican dinner, so you're going to get to taste a lot of our Oaxacan green corn, and you can see the remnants of the corn between those rows of the trees. The thing about, watch you guys, watch your eyes, watch the branches. The thing about the Oaxacan, any corn and any kind of row crop, it only takes a couple months, 3 months to grow. But pecan trees are 15 years to monetize. Peach trees are 6 years to monetize. So that's a long time for a farmer to wait. We should grow in the alleyways and then also double use the water for having just benefits. So that's another thing that we should do. We're coming into this next orchard. This is not as good of a success story as that one. This one is totally out in the open. So I had $40,000 worth of pecans die. Watch your Ramona. Because what happened was we got 100 days over 100, and even with irrigation, these were young trees. They just didn't have enough roots to take up enough water to deal with that level of heat. If it's a big tree, then some of it can die back and pull back to the roots, but there's no roots to pull back to. Okay, stop here. My kids are feral and learning to think. Okay, so we're a beef on dairy herd, which means most of the time I'm breeding a beef bull on dairy cows. You can see there's all these Hereford calves over there, and then you can see that there is the reason you don't want a dairy bull is look at these two young dairy steers over there. Those are 2 years old, and they're so small over there, right? But I'm doing it again to myself. I have this dairy bull right here, but he's 25% Brahma and the rest Jersey. I'm trying to breed a little bit of heat tolerance into my herd. I'm going to put up with some small steers that take a long time. But most of the time we have a beef bull on dairy cows so that all the babies are meat. And then we also have a few beef cows. You can see I have 2 Herefords out there and an Angus and a few beef cows. And then we have dairy cows that are not very good necessarily. So this cow right here with the purple tag in her ear, she's actually a Jersey. She's pregnant, but she's not a very good milker. Now, in full disclosure, the first time she had her baby, she was over here in this field, and the guys were, oh, the black cow had the baby. I was wanted to bring her in and start milking her, and they were like, no. And then they got confused, and they just didn't milk her. She didn't ever get milked on the milking machine her first cycle. We're going to try to see if we can bring her milk production up. Because she was black, they got confused and thought she was a meat cow. But she's tiny and skinny. It's obviously not a meat cow. But they got confused. Anyways, this is the rest of the ones that are not in milk. They are either dairy cows that are bred for their first time and not milking yet, or they're at the end and they're about being dried off, or these are beef cows. But all of these cows will join these cows in the morning after their milk, and they'll all be together. And then all the dairy cows know, and they're going to be waiting together at this time. They know they're about to get more feed, and they're going to get a break in there, and they go there. So we can keep going. We have about 40 cows, I don't know how many mama cows between beef and that. I have an app that could tell us if we needed to know exactly. But so over here was all the pecan trees. They all died. Just last year in April, I replanted all these pear trees. Watch yourselves. It's not Disneyland, it's a real farm, and things smoke and brick. Hey, baby. So, and then we also graze the cows between, yeah? Yes, right here is a Micah with lemon. It's sour, though. We do graze the cows through these rows, and we do plant cover crops between these rows. They just graze this off. So you can see this is where they were yesterday. We move them every day. You can see the electric fence in the quadrants where we're going to move them the next day and the next day. People say, oh, I don't think they're getting enough feed. Look at that dead grass. If you came here at 12 o'clock today, they were all laying down chewing their cud, which means they were full and they were chewing cud like they're fine. And if there isn't good forage, we supplement with hay. And you'll be able to see on this field that even when we're feeding them hay, we move them every day so that their fertility is building on the soil, and any remnants of the carbon is also going into the soil. As we go here, you're going to see, so this field was just planted with cover crops. It's a your Mets cover crop, I would say. I planted cold season and warm season, and it's all going to come up, and if it gets cold again, the cold season will stay alive, and if it doesn't get cold again, then it's a warm season, but it's hard to tell here exactly. But so you can see that's only how much tillage you can do. It's called a no-till seed drills. Interesting thing that you guys may or may not know, but plants can't make minerals. That's noticed. And so, argue with our kids to eat some broccoli or some carrots, and only through the relationship that nature or God created that is perfect, where the plant takes carbon out of the atmosphere, turns it into carbohydrates, and feeds the microbiology, and then the microbiology breaks down the soil and makes the minerals available. Only in that relationship do minerals get into plants. And so that's why the way we farm nowadays, where we're just putting the nutrients on top, we get these big beautiful heads of broccoli and lemons and everything perfect, but there's no nutrients in it. And we are very obsessed with things looking perfect, and as humans here in the United States of America, we're less concerned about what's in it. I tell the story on the farm tour before. My cousin's a hairdresser, and I was a lemon farmer for a long time, and so she sent me a picture, And she said, my client wants me to tell her what's wrong with her lemon tree. And I looked, I could use a little fertilizer, but I couldn't tell anything was wrong. But I said, I can't tell what, I could use a little fertilizer, but what does she think is wrong? And she said, all the lemons are different shapes. And I said, well, lemons are all different shapes. She said, well, why aren't they different shapes at the store? And I said, well, we the farmers are only paid for the ones that we get 10 cents on the dollar for everything that is not a perfect football. But lemons come round oranges, and they come squatter and flatter and all different shapes. And we only get paid just people. So we've got very good at growing very uniform food. We're gonna get out here and we're gonna walk through the greenhouses and have a little look of what it looks like inside the greenhouses. If anybody doesn't feel up to walking, feel free to wait on the cart and we'll be through in 5 minutes. We're gonna walk on one side or other of the cilantro. So this greenhouse has avocados, lemons, calamandins, and lemongrass as the perennials. Again, we plant in the aisleways here too, and we have a perennial, so we always have a living root in the ground for the microbiology. And then, so the annuals here, we have on the edges, we have some peppers, and then those are fava beans, and then right here is cilantro, and then carrots are coming up right there, and peppers on the other side. And the citrus flowers smell so nice in here right now. And we might get some avocados this year because it's this is an antiviral, antifungal, anti-candida medicine, and it is very numbing. Just take a little taste first, but we use it in cold medicine. They use it in sore throat medicine. You could pass it down. Does everybody get some? It's a little numbing, but it's really good medicine from the Amazon. We put it in tinctures, we put it in cold medicine. Just take a little tiny taste first. We're gonna walk through this middle section here. This greenhouse has very little annuals growing, just the perennials. We're getting ready to replant the annuals. Anybody want to try stevia, just the way God made it, not processed? Anybody else want to try the stevia? This is very sweet. Yeah, very sweet. It's antiviral, antifungal, anti-candida. It's very good for sore throats, for candida, for periodontal disease, for any kind of gum or teeth infections. Also a good pain reliever. This is stevia just the way God made it without being processed.
Do you have any avocado trees outside?
I have one. I have no idea.
Molly, this bane of my existence. This papaya tree is confused because it's been getting cold and hot and cold and hot. It's not really frozen. It's just they don't know how to maintain themselves when it's swinging that. But yeah, it'll be fine. But that's papaya. And this big vine behind you is a passion fruit. You can see it has a lot of passion fruit on it. That was one little seed that came with me from California. We had some frozen passion fruit, and I made a drink for the kids, and one got in the compost pile, and then I rescued it out of the compost pile, and I put it there, and now it's taking over the whole greenhouse. Give him some more stevia. You like that one. David, right here with the white shirt on. That is the hard water. We just actually got a filter that's for irrigation for agricultural. It's going to structure the water and pull out some of the minerals. But yeah, this is our water. And so the trees, once the trees get above where it's spraying, then they seem to be okay. But yeah, it's really hard on the bottom. And outside, when it rains, it gets rinsed off. But inside, it never rains. That is the problem. I mean, if it rained more, but this is kale, cauliflower, broccoli, chili peppers, habaneros, and more citrus and avocados as the perennials. Again, every garden is the same, where we have annuals and perennials growing together. The chili peppers are that yellow because of the swings in temperature. They're struggling to know how to manage themselves. The chili peppers are going to come out and get replanted soon anyway. But some of the chili peppers we've discovered can be perennials here. This habaneros in this row have been here for a couple years, and it's not being impacted by this cold swings. It's not turning yellow, and it's still, even in the wintertime, producing habaneros, although they're smaller than they are in the summertime. we found that these habaneros can produce all year round, and they don't go dormant, and they don't struggle from the heat swings. We need to put more of those in. We can go back to the people mover. This is kale, cauliflower, broccoli. My bees are in a disaster state right now. They got blown over in a storm and were blown, so I need to get new bees. The problem is with any of the pollinators at the greenhouse, they get caught in there, they die. But this is true for any greenhouses, is the pollinators get confused. Died of cancer, and in the end, it was metastasized all in her kidney and livers, and a lot of the painkillers were not working, and unless they were intravenous or because they were making her sick because her kidney and livers were not working. And so she started taking one every 15 minutes, and it created numbness in her whole body in the end of her life. I would say if you're having a sore throat or something, I would just take one as often as you can tolerate it until you'll totally eradicate it. We also make
I would eat a handful of one.
You're different. You're not. And we also have it we have a respiratory blend and a sinus and a cold and sinus and a chin, all of those blends. We're going over to where the pigs are. I don't have any opinion whether people should or should not eat pork. I do have an opinion that if you do eat pork, you should eat it from somebody that you know is not eating plastic. Basically what happens is most pork is eating a waste stream, and the waste stream is just getting ground up. Imagine Trader Joe's or Sprouts or whatever, their lettuce or everything. It all just gets ground up with the plastic, heated over 165 degrees in a slurry and fed to the pigs. Well, that's what ends up having us have a ton of plastic in the pig bodies, which then we eat. We do a foresting system that we move them every 3 to 6 months, and we put carbon in every day, and we build soil where they are, and then we move them and we can grow stuff where they were. Keep them in under trees or cedar trees here in Texas, and we think that that's a better model than. And we do feed waste from our restaurant and what you don't eat on your slave restaurants. But we don't feed them plastic or anything. And then we get screenings, milo screenings, and feed them that as well. But you can see here, we moved the pigs out of here, and we didn't even plant anything here yet, and the grass is already starting to come up anywhere there was water. So they put a lot of fertility in, but we're gonna plant that with some cover crops. Braveheart, then I wrote the article last week about the pig who wouldn't become bacon. That is her right there. The story of Braveheart is that she was unwilling to get in the trailer when all her siblings got loaded. She went completely mental, and my husband was calling the radio for everybody, more people. And at that point he thought someone was gonna get hurt, so he said no more. Braveheart is gonna live. I'm gonna name her Braveheart. They didn't have a name. We don't name pigs that are going to get harvested. And so he said her name is Braveheart, and she wants to live more than I want bacon on the last day of your event next month or whatever it was. And that was 2 years ago in March. She just had her 4th litter. She's wallowing in the mud with her mother right there. And the thing is that this brown one is her, and her mother's the black one there. Black Bean is her mom's name. What I think about Braveheart is sometimes it feels this world is coming at us bad, and it's what is even worth fighting for. It's all just already a foregone conclusion. But the foregone conclusion for her was pork chops, bacon, and sausage. And she fought hell, and she had a different future come. And so I feel we all need to take a lesson from Braveheart that literally we can outpower, and with our last breath, we could change the total trajectory of our life. This is Cookie and her babies. You see the little babies in there? And those are her youngest babies in there with Cookie. This is Uncle Scott. And these are the babies from Braveheart right there. She just got weaned. That's why she's so skinny. But those are her babies that we just weaned off of her. And these are our yearlings that are getting ready to be harvested soon up here. And then you can see we're continuing to build more pens, and we'll plant cover crops in these pens and hopefully use this fertility that the cows will come eat the cover crops there, and they'll track all that fertility back out onto this field that is struggling behind them. We can keep going. See, and the other benefit is they opened up the cedar area so water can hit the ground. And the thing that the Burger Ranch taught us is that by opening up the cedar canopy is really what we need to do. It's not about taking the cedars out. And I encourage people to call them junipers because that's what they are. They're not cedars. But that's when we open that up, we can let water hit the ground when there's only a little bit of rain, and that's really important. And so the pigs are also doing that for us. They're causing many different purposes for us and having that happen. Here we opened up the cedar, and this is how I open up all the cedar forest on the whole property. But it's money and time and bandera. But then we can graze the cows through the cedars. We can graze the pigs through the cedars. But that's the goal of how we want to get open up. And so Bandera says their method is if you can put your hands around it, cut it out. If you can't put your hands around it, lollipop it, cut the bottom branches and open it up. And that is how you're going to make sure that you have the big roots that are going deep that help the water. Those roots are actually little slides or tubes that help the water get into the rocks and down. And what happens is when we get, you know how here in Texas we get just a baby rain, it's almost not a rain. When that happens and there's a close canopy of cedar, the way the leaves, the way the needles are, they hold all the water off the ground and then it evaporates up. And what happens is no water gets down, so no water gets the aquifer. What Bandera proved without a shadow of a doubt is that they've brought back all their springs, their creeks, their water with just opening up their forest and planting grass underneath. And so I think that as Texas, in Central Texas, in the hill country, we have a map that wasn't paid for by the government, that wasn't individual man did it, and I think that we would all do great by following that. I'm actually trying to how I could create a non-profit where landowners could pay to have their cedar forest open, and it would be a tax deductible deduction, and so they would get the work done on their land, but then their land would be recharging aquifers, and it would be a tax deduction as a non-profit donation. And the benefits would be for all of us and the aquifers, because we could all just keep saying, if people keep moving here and putting another straw in, we're going to be out of water. But that's not going to do us any good. We need to be solution-minded and not just apathetic. I'm trying to how I can design that nonprofit where you get landowners with big acreage to pay to do the opening it up, and that is then a tax deduction that's for the greater good, the benefit for everybody. This is our hunting area out there and also our camping area during events, and we also graze the cows out there. We graze the cows everywhere, even up into, well, not there, but anywhere there's grass. But the benefit of moving them every day with the electric is that you can put them anywhere. Did anybody have any questions thus far about anything? No questions? Not enough. Not enough. I think we have 5 employees and then family. So, what?
That's all for real.
Yes. We're all stretched pretty thin.
That's a lot.
And some of those full-time employees are people with visas from Mexico, and they are also family. They're my husband's brothers, because my husband's country. So we're mostly family. And there's only 3 people here that are not blood related to. My brother's family, my uncle, but my brother, me, my husband, my uncle, we all have off-fall jobs. So trying to sell this fish tank. They turned my fish tank down to the restaurant so I could sell it. 206. I bought the property in the end of 21, which was the depth of the property in the beginning of 22. We moved here in just a few days before 24 started, just in the very end. And all these RVs around our harvest home, they'll stay here. That's why there's not usually so many RVs around, but which is the only caffeine native to North America. I mean, yeah, only caffeine native to North America. And coffee does grow in Mexico, which is North America, but it's not native. Mexico. Mexico's North America. People in USA don't remember that. They think Mexico is.
Mollie, end the tour.
This is the end of the tour at Sovereignty Ranch. Thanks for coming out. It only works if the community comes and supports it. So thank you for being the kind of people that come out and support what our family is doing here on Sovereignty Ranch. Yay, regenerative agriculture.
My bad.